There are a few that are using just the wind, but it's not practical in the city. So what are some rules of thumb for solar climate? Well, first of all, face the equator. If you're in our climate, that means face south. If you're in Australia or Chile, you face north, your collectors. What do you do if you're on the equator? I was in Kenya last year, and there you just pointed straight up at the sky, because the sky is most that way. Although what they found was that in some parts of Kenya it was tended to be foggy in the morning, so they would actually tilt the collectors a little bit towards the west, so they would get a little more of the afternoon sun on the collectors. And the optimum angle is roughly your latitude, which here in Saskatoon is 52 degrees north, plus or minus about 20 degrees. But we have snow, and I've looked over the years, on average we have snow on the ground about 5 months of the year here. The tourism people never advertise it. And you can go up to 70 degrees with no loss in performance because of the fact that the sun is very forgiving. And here are some of the features in the Saskatchewan Conservation House. Very high insulation levels in the walls, in the attic, and in the floor system. They didn't have a basement in that house. And it was very well sealed. They have a very tight air vapor barrier. And in this building as well, that same technology is using. Here, we're actually using more insulation. And this will have, or has about R60 insulation in the walls. And I think there's about R110 up in the attic. And when the house is placed on the basement walls will be well insulated, and the basement floor as well. Some other things it had was one of the first ventilation air-to-air heat exchangers. And this will be right around the corner here. In this little slot here, the air-to-air heat exchanger will be located there. And if you look right back here, you can see one of the vents for the air-to-air heat exchanger. In each room there is either a supply or an exhaust to provide fresh air to the storm. And I think if you notice right now, you smell a lot of paint, odors, and kind of new house things. And, don't breathe too deeply. This is all going to be finished by the end of the week, did I hear? So. And another thing it had was a device that recovers heat from the bath and shower, and that was used to heat up the hot water for the house. So what did we learn from that? I was involved with the monitoring and the energy conservation and passive features worked very well. I don't know, Elizabeth, you were here today, we had a beautiful day. What happened to the house? Did they have to open the doors because it was so much sunlight coming in, or did it stay pretty nice temperature-wise?
It was quite comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. Beneath your feet here, there's about 1.5 inches of concrete, and it tends to stabilize the temperature in the house because the more mass in the house, the less the temperature rises during the day.
So is it a particular blend of concrete or just ordinary concrete?
No, I think this is just fairly conventional concrete. Concrete weighs about 150 pounds per cubic foot. And so if you have 1.5 inches, I think it's what's 1.5 divided by 12 times 150? It's roughly about 15 pounds per square foot of mass there. The idea here is that you need a finished floor in the house, and if it can also serve as some thermal mass, that's a good thing. Another thing that people do, and I think rather than hauling the scrap gypsum board to the landfill, you can stuff it into the hollow interior partitions. That makes your house heavier. I know in Toronto right now it's against the law to actually put gypsum board in the scrap. You have to recycle it. And I can't remember what the latest tipping fees are here at the dump, but it's
$55 a ton.
$50 to $5 a ton. And it doesn't take too many pieces of gypsum board to make a ton.
So some of the gypsum board pieces were put in the walls and
I'm going to have to defer to Elizabeth or Catherine here.
Sorry, what was the question?
Was any of the scrap gypsum board placed in the wall cavities?
I'm not sure.
I know at the plant where they made this house was made in Vanscoy at the new fab plant, and they have a very tight control on any scraps and so on. Any little piece of wood, you know, they'll reuse it again for blocking and so on. So I don't know how aggressively they use that, but if you're building a detached house by itself, the technique of using the interior partitions is, you can tell here there's quite a bit different noise level than that. Here, this is that dense packed cellulose in the walls, quite a different sound. I have this in my home here, and it's very good for isolating sound. We live on Main Street, which is very good, and the cellulose on the walls. But we had this in our basement, and our daughter used to play tennis and hit tennis balls against the gypsum board. And because it was backed up with cellulose, dense packed cellulose, it didn't injure the gypsum board.
So when you say
There's a lot of
dense,
other things she did, but I won't get into that.
when you say dense packed cellulose, is that
Yeah.
a particular board that's not blown in, or is that?
Yeah, it's blown in. They put a netting on the wall and then blow it in about 1, 2, 3, 4 blows.
So it's blown in under pressure, sort of?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think Wall Bar is one of the brand names of it. This is a house my wife and I built in 1992. It's on 1026 Main Street. And I have a younger brother who's a forester, and he loves this house. Why? Have a wooden roof, wooden siding, cellulose, which is recycled newsprint. We have wooden floors, wooden basement, wooden frame windows, and he loves it. And the thing about wood is that virtually all the carbon that is in wood is pulled out of the atmosphere. And with that atmosphere being cleansed of carbon dioxide, you're actually cleaning up the environment here. And they should actually be giving a credit to people for using wood in construction, because it is, pulling carbon out of the atmosphere. On our house, we have solar heating panels in this band along here, and they're tilted at an angle of 70 degrees. This is the south orientation here. And if you notice here, we're using the support for the collectors also provides some shading on these windows. And then there's also shading on these windows from the roof overhang. And on these 4-foot windows, a 2-foot overhang seems to work very well in our climate. But the taller the window that you have, the less well that you're shading. And this is the front view of the house. And this house design is called Colonial Revival, and it goes back to the 1850s. And one of the reasons it's been fairly popular, it's a very simple house to build. There's just 4 corners. There's no ins and outs and complicated The only thing fairly complicated is this porch, but it's sort of on the outside of the house.